and you're very welcome to another JMac podcast. I'm John Mann, and of course, the podcast is brought to you by Cork.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Cork.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And if you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe on YouTube because the sport's been absolutely brilliant so far. And tonight I'm joined by former Crossmaglen footballer Johnny Murda and former Wexford footballer Matty Ford to talk about last weekend's Alliance Football League action and this weekend's Alliance Football League action. So really look forward to the lads tonight. We're minus Kevin McGurty as it's his birthday tonight, lads. So we're down tools once again. So Johnny, what you make of all that?
Yeah, probably lucky enough. No, but in fairness, happy 50th to Kevin. Hope he has a good.
Oh, what about yourself, Matty? What's the version?
Jesus, I thought Johnny has been generous with 50 when he was on the other night. He looked a hell of a lot more than that. But look, at whatever it is, whether it's 50 or 60, happy birthday, Kevin, and we'll see him over the next few weeks, I'm sure. Anyway, and I hope he's having better crack than we are.
It could be good crack, Matty. Don't rule out.
I wouldn't doubt it for a second with him. I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
And Matty, you're a new JMac podcast pundit member, contracted, signed, sealed, delivered. So delighted to have you on board.
Yeah, look, I'm delighted. It's always great, a bit of crack talking about football. As long as we don't have to talk about Wexford too much, I'll be happy enough. We'll look further up the divisions, I think, for the rest of 2022, and we'll chat away. But no, delighted to be on board, and I'm sure we'll have a bit of crack throughout the year.
Well, you can't blame us for bringing that up because you brought it up yourself. So we can't get the blame.
John, will it be okay if I handle me resignation for 2022 now? I know it's probably the shortest punditry job of all time, but no, look, we'll get on with it. I'm sure we'll have a bit of fun with it during the year.
Matty, as long as you last longer than Paul Galvin up in Wexford, you'll be off to a flyer.
Get a couple of weeks out of it then, hopefully, yeah.
Johnny Murda, that's a beautiful Armagh top. Where'd you get it?
I got that there last weekend. Yeah. So I figured it's time I better start supporting the boys, you know.
I thought maybe Geezer gave him a shout to come back in, but he reckons he's bought it anyway. So
yeah, hey, it's a water boy job. That's what I'd be getting. That's a bit ahead of it. Actually, I have a subject later on that water boy, but that'll come up later on. It'll be an interesting take on it. But anyway, we'll fire away.
I'm looking forward to it, Johnny. I'm looking forward to it. Right, lads, we will crack into it. We had games on, we had games off. We had a bit of everything this weekend. It was a real weekend for the Ducks, and as Matty Ford said, it was a weekend for staying at home in front of the fire. But some of us braved the elements yesterday. An absolute mad this weekend, but it's good to have you on board tonight, lads. We'll crack into some of the games, the action, and the games that did go ahead. So we'll start off with Division 1, as Matty said. We'll work our way down, and we'll start off with Mayo against Dublin. It was in Croke Park on Saturday night in round 3 of the Alliance League Division 1. So Mayo 2-11, Dublin 12 points. Johnny, Mayo got over the line, but this is a time to start worrying about the Dubs.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt about it. To worry about them. Jesus, they were extremely poor, lackluster. In fairness, the Mayo was well organised. I was very impressed with the Mayo putting on the high line up the field. They were organised for kickouts, but their press was very good on the high line. They were tackling high up the field, which was very impressive. Mayo emptied the bench as well, and they did show that they'd strengthened depth there. And I'll be honest, I said a few weeks ago, John, that I thought Mayo maybe would come back a wee bit. I'm telling you, even though Dublin was poor, Mayo was very impressive. I liked their intensity. Their fitness was very good. Their strength in the tackle was very good. Rob Henley, again, top notch. I was very impressed with Mayo. But Dublin, listen, we do know Dublin has a lot of men to come back in there. And things, it's funny, when things go again you and to try and get that ship turned again, it could be a slow process. They don't have anything easy now, going probably to Newbridge now to play Kildare in the local derby. And there's going to be Everton fired at them now, especially with the way they are. So, listen, the Dublin backs is up against the wall. We know the calibre of players it has. You could name them, household names, but until they get a few guys back and playing well, the Conor O'Callaghan's, James McCarthy and these boys, they did get a couple back, but they're going to need more. And, I was sort of looking forward to seeing the likes of Pascal in the corner the same what he done, but he struggled. He didn't get on a lot of ball, and he ended up getting taken off after 40 odd minutes. So same thing again. Dean Rock 4 points from play, of 4 frees, but nothing from play. So these are the wee things which I'd be looking out for that you wouldn't normally see with Dublin. There was guys used to pop up left, right, centre, chipping away at the scoreboard from play. That's not really happening, and they're still taking on these crazy shots that they never would have done from outside the scoring zone. So probably a wee bit of discipline, but at the minute, John, they look as if they went very soft. That's for sure.
Definitely, Johnny. It is worrying signs. I suppose what's really standing out, because obviously we did kind of see a lack of kind of scoring threat for the Dubs. As I said, I was listening to some of the podcasts, this morning, like a lot of people were just saying they were running out of ideas, going down blind avenues. Not the Dublin we've kind of really seen, Johnny. So they really haven't learned much. They did have that 2-week break. You wonder what has been going on with Desi Farrell and the lads. So as you rightly said, Pascal was rightly taken off. I know Conor Callan some boys had to come back in, and Mick Fitzsimons came back in there at the weekend, but he was a bit rusty. So Johnny, if you really have any big intentions, you really would have wanted, had a good start there and even get a win there at the weekend.
Yeah, well, probably would have wanted a win, absolutely, and they will feel a wee bit of pressure. I still don't think it's time for panic stations. Like I said, Dublin has a lot of men to come back in, and I still feel come championship time, they're definitely going to be the team to beat in Leinster. So, listen, it's a work in progress. There is a lot of new players that's come in and out there, but they're not firing on all cylinders. There's no doubt about it. But the beauty, they have a lot of time on their hands, probably to hit top gear. But they will need to start doing and showing something very, very quick, because, to be honest with you, if they pick up another couple of losses and maybe a heavy defeat, I tell you what, Desi could be on thin ice. I'll just say that. I don't think it's right. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't be someone that would call out and say he'd have to go, but something's badly wrong, and that's just from the outside. But as Matty could tell you there, with county teams and county panels and stuff, you don't know what's going on in-house till you're in it. And it's okay that us saying that from behind the scenes. So sometimes there could be different things and different issues in-house. So they're going to need to do something fairly soon, I'd imagine, John.
Johnny, Mayo, we have to give them obviously a bit of kind of praise for this performance. It was very good. They kind of signalled their intentions for kind of minute one and really got over the line. Rob Hendy got man of the match. So Johnny, a very, very impressive Mayo performance. James Horan comes up to Croke Park, gets the win again. So he'll be delighted with training this week and looking ahead to the weekend.
Oh, it is a massive, massive lift for Mayo. Like I said, it's very, very organised on their press up the field. On the high line, and they stayed high. That's what I've been impressed with them. They've done the same again Monaghan. They stayed high again Monaghan as well, and they caused Monaghan a ferocious amount of bother. They're going to take an unbelievable amount from that win, beyond no illusions, and this could actually kickstart Mayo's year. Probably down there you would have said that Galway had been going well as well, So Mayo has bounced himself back up there to be the top dog, I think, especially after the weekend. And if a few people like myself, and I'll put my hand up, I thought they came back a wee bit. It was good to see the likes of Mullen and them boys back in again. He's going to add an awful amount to that Mayo setup. But around the middle, they're very organised. And, I think the big thing as well for me is Aidan O'Shea coming off the bench. I think that's where you're going to get the most out of Aidan, I'm afraid, at this minute in time. I think there seems to be a better unit when he's not starting. But like Jeremy O'Connor, a bit of skill there out along the line was absolutely phenomenal. And that man has a serious engine. He would just go and go and go to the well all the time. And I was, I was impressed with him, to be honest, John. I was impressed, even though Dublin was very poor. it's hard to know what to read into it, but they were impressive. They definitely were impressive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Matty, just kind of get your take on maybe Aidan O'Shea not starting, kind of coming on, maybe as an impact. So is that something Mayo might adapt for the year ahead? Like, is that where he will be effective the last 10, 15, or what would be your take on that, Matty?
Yeah, it could very well be, because he certainly made an impact when he came on. He made an impact on I think it was Davy Byrne anyway, or Mick Fitzsimons. He absolutely ploughed straight through him. Your man bounced off him and he just kept going, But Johnny, I think, is fairly spot on. I think he over the last number of years, he's been one of the best footballers in the country, but he does tend, the game that Mayo look to have progressed a bit in what they're trying to do. They're trying to play very quick, and even something you don't see a lot of county teams doing, we're just literally banging the ball in the other night to one-on-ones, which most county teams will not do under any circumstances. They're afraid of losing possession and sweepers and stuff like that. But Mayo look to want to play the ball really, really quick at the moment, either carrying or kicking, and that's probably not Aidan O'Shea's forte. But winning ball, when he's very good on the ball. If you have a lead, he's a great man on the ball, not to give it away and to carry it and probably draw a couple of frees as well. And he would be the ideal person to do that, when 10, 15 minutes to go, like it was the other night when he came on, when they had a bit of a lead and they wanted to hold on to it. He's clearly able to win primary possession. And that, looking with the number of players that are out, like Mayo at the moment are missing as many players as Dublin are. So, they were really, really impressive, I thought. So, with that many players missing and Aidan O'Shea not starting, whether he's injured or has been carrying a bit of a knock, or maybe he's only back training very recently, it probably doesn't look 100% from starting safe. The first round of the championship is in 2-3 weeks' time. That he'd be one of the first 15 names in the team sheet. Kevin McLaughlin was another one who came on the other night, but they've introduced some really impressive young guys who are, they've no hang-ups, they've no fear of Dublin. And they just didn't care. They just went out and played, and they were full value for the win, and probably should have won by a bit more, I think.
Absolutely. So it's Matty, from a Dublin point of view, like a lot of people's kind of saying like they might not win an All Ireland this year. Matty, it is going to be a long year. I know are they putting emphasis in the league, or might put a bit of emphasis into maybe the championship coming up ahead, Matty. So I wouldn't say it is probably planning stations yet. They probably will maybe sneak, and they might if they get over the line, say maybe against maybe the likes of maybe Tyrone or maybe Monaghan or even Kildare to a degree, Matty. Their bacon will be saved, but they won't be impressed with this start, Matty.
No, look, everyone says you don't want to go out and start losing league matches. I know from my own time playing, anytime we had a decent championship run was off the back of a good league. Most teams can't just switch it on, because the championship is becoming, fairly hot and heavy right on the back of the league. There's not going to be much of a break there in between, where before you might have had, 6-8 weeks to get things right. That's not going to happen this year. Obviously, the championship is going to be done and dusted pretty quick and come up pretty quick after the league. So, I think they will be looking. They mightn't be saying it. I think they will be looking over their shoulder a little bit. I think they have to. 3 of their last 4 games are away. 2 of those are up in Ulster, and I'm not sure which one of the Ulster teams is coming to Croke Park, but that's not going to be a cakewalk either. So, it's not getting any easier from in the league. Kildare will smell blood too. Kildare, and we'll talk about that. Probably should have got over the line yesterday, but they're going to smell blood in Newbridge, and they were very impressive again, Kerry in Newbridge in round 1. So I think they're gonna fancy maybe taking on Dublin at the weekend too. But Dublin have a lot of new players introduced, similar to Mayo, but they've lost players and Johnny mentioned the Mayo press. Mayo tried that press before, but with Stephen Cluxton in the goal, he was able to literally put a ball into a guy's pocket moving. It hasn't been the same with Evan Comerford, and they've definitely targeted that as putting more pressure on him. And teams have got joy of it. Mayo certainly did the other night. But you lose players like Rory O'Carroll and Keane O'Sullivan and Jack McCaffrey, Paul Mannion, the Brogans. You keep going. Michael Darragh Macaulay. You can't just replace those guys overnight. And I think Dublin have really good players coming through, but in the first year or two, and I'm sure Johnny will tell you the very same, there's not too many guys, with probably David Clifford being the exception, to just come in and start tearing it up in the first year or two of playing senior inter-county football. It's a huge step from whatever level they've been playing at. And the Dublin players that are coming in, no more than anyone else, are going to take a couple of years to find their feet. But unfortunately in Dublin, you probably don't get that couple of years, and they're just not replacing, and they're never going to replace, I think, the quality of players that they've lost over the last few years.
Can Mayo win stamp this year, Matty?
I think they can. Whether they will or not is a totally different. Look, they're right up there. They're up there with Dublin. They're up there with Kerry. And they're up there with Tyrone. There's no doubt about that. They're probably in the top 2, maybe 3, definitely. So there's not a doubt. But unfortunately, I was at a wedding the day of the All-Ireland final last year with a lot of Mayo people, and I was luckily I won a few pound on Tyrone, because I said, why do you think Tyrone will win? I just said, well, Tyrone find ways of winning games and Mayo find ways of losing them. And look at, hopefully for their own sake and for the sake of Jesus, for their poor long suffering supporters, that they can get over the line sooner rather than later. But if Mayo were to win Ireland, would it be a shock? I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Wait and see. It was an impressive start for James Horan's men, no doubt. And in the other game on Saturday night, you would in the Athletic Grounds, Armagh 1-7, Monaghan 10 points, and Matty, this was not a game to write home with.
No, look, it was never going to be the Ulster derbies in the league, no more than the championship. This was a brilliant game in the championship last year. The two of them just went at it. But look, to be fair, all over the country at the weekend, conditions dictated the way a lot of games were going to go. And Monaghan, after losing at home last week to Mayo, were never going to come in and just lie down. And Armagh are full of confidence at the moment and playing really well. But if you drop that, and Johnny has said, I'm sure we'll know this, if you drop that very small, it's very, very difficult to pick that back up. And Monaghan were always the ones going to come and attack this game at 100 mile an hour. And they probably should have seen it out, albeit like Rian O'Neill's penalty is 100% over the line. And everyone has seen the video clip and stuff. In a sense, you have the umpire standing on one goal line. You have the referee standing at the other side, and for some reason the second umpire is standing about 4 rows back up into the terrace, whatever in the name of God he was at. But how one of them, seriously, this will happen later on the year at some stage in a series championship match, and this time of the year it's not a big deal. But Armagh were the winners of the match, but how one of them can't spot it is kind of baffling. It wasn't a great spectacle of a football match, but look, it's an Ulster derby. It was never going to be open and free flowing like it was last summer. But it was intriguing nonetheless.
Absolutely. And obviously, Conor McManus going off. Maddie and I was saying to the lads the weekend, when that kind of scoring threat of McManus does go off, panic stations for Monaghan, because there was no real men to kind of step up. We seen Monaghan had the chance at the end, had the chance to win it. They were passing backwards, sidewards, everywhere at all. Maddie, lads nearly afraid to take a shot. So you really do think when McManus does call it a day, which I think will be very soon, Maddie, who's going to replace him?
There's not too many going to replace him, is the honest answer. And there's a player like that, or has been in a lot of counties, and they're very, very hard to replace. And that's just the truth. It's no disrespect to any of the other Monaghan forwards, but many times it's not as if he's done it once or twice. He's been doing it for 12, 13 years at this stage. That when points are needed, and none more so than the championship match last year. In Ulster, he done it at the very end of that game as well. But he's been doing it for years. He's been doing it from ridiculous angles and stuff like that. But you can be sure the other night, at some stage at the end of that game, he would have gotten the end of a shot somewhere. And of the 30 players on the field at that stage, if Conor McManus is there, he's probably the one player you want having a shot for you in the dying seconds of a game, to win it or to do whatever. He's the one guy you want to get on the ball. But absolutely, look, at no more than anywhere else, teams will panic when you lose a player of that quality. Look at it, let's be serious. He was sent off for next to nothing as well, and it was a really poor decision.
Johnny, Armagh, were you impressed with the performance? Do you feel like Armagh could have won the game, or was it just kind of that Monaghan just let it slip? It's hard to know, obviously, with the quality of the game and obviously the wides in the first half and following into the second half, Johnny. But look, are you happy with the point?
I'm happy with the point. I was at the game. It was an awful night for football. At half time, I would have took the hand and all off you for a point. We didn't play well. There's no point in saying any different. But you know what? I don't think it'll do them any harm. It'll bring them back down there. They'll have to go back working again. It's probably a valuable point at the end of the day. As I keep saying, John, the most important thing about Division 1 is staying there. I that really annoyed about winning the National League. Yes, it'd be lovely to have it, absolutely, 100%. But that'll not be coming into a championship the way the championship's just around the corner this year. That'll not be the prime focus for Armagh. It's like any Division 1 team. They'll have one eye on Sam, the same as the rest, and Division 1 will dictate who the hell is going to win, Sam. So, listen, Armagh's back down there. Your question, could they have won it? Yeah, they could have won it. They could have stole it. They could have, we did carve up a couple of goal chances. And I was saying in the WhatsApp group yesterday, I've been very puzzled over the weekend with the conditions, and all the football I watched all over the weekend. There was goal chances being carved up left, right, and centre in all games, and I was completely baffled why they're not putting the ball along the ground in them conditions. That's and this stuff should be simple enough for guys at that caliber, at that level, And I suppose we can be. If I'm being brutally honest with Ryan's penalty, it was he hit it unbelievably hard. when you're actually at it and you see how hard he hit that ball, you know. But it would be a small bit critical on Rain and say, well, why the hell didn't you fucking put it on the deck? You know, why was it not on the ground? You know, and like, even though it was a goal, 100% it was a goal, and it shouldn't have been missed. But, you know, like, in fairness to Rain, I know in the McKenna Cup he hit one about the same power and put it in the top corner in the penalty shootout against Monaghan. But, you know, I felt a night like that he should have driven low and hard along the deck. You know, but listen, we didn't play well. We got out of jail a wee bit. McManus shouldn't have been sent off. It was a bad call. Rain was probably lucky not to get away with a black card as well, maybe. You know, so on the grand scheme of things, the point was probably, I was happy enough considering it brings the boys back and it gets them the head back in the game now, and that, you know, they mightn't just have the chest out just as much yet, and they realise they still have a whole load of work to do. You know, so you know, at the end of the day, Monaghan has done this, and I've been watching them very closely the last few games. Monaghan is missing far too many scores in the first 3 league games. It is a problem there, and you guys are 100% right, as Matthew said. You know, when the game was in the melting pot, they hold the ball for 3 minutes. From 70 to 73 minutes, they held the ball and they just went over and back and over and back. Whereas McManus would have been buying a free somewhere there, like he'd done in the Championship last year. He had it upstairs, and he's been the benchmark for Monaghan for years. And you asked the question, is he replaceable? No, you can't replace a man like that, and that's a simple answer. You know, the same as Wexford couldn't replace that man, or Armagh couldn't replace Oshie. It took years. You know, these players, you know, they don't come around too often, and you know, Monaghan is in a wee bit of bother in you know, in the forward line if they don't get moving again when McManus isn't there, and that was plain to be seen.
Matty, we're only complimenting you tonight because you're a member. You're going to get abused now for the rest of the year.
Johnny wasn't near as nice before the camera started rolling there, let me tell you. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more of that come, but sure, we'll take the compliment when it's going anyway. I'm sure that's what it was.
But Johnny, you went from you were going at Rhea there. You complimented Matty. You're on one there, Johnny.
Yeah, well, it makes a change. I'll have to get him one another time. I said, hey, I don't think they'll let you away either. I don't know what the story is with this office in the daylight. It's still pitch black here now, so you're not getting away around.
Cavan is in a different time zone though, Johnny. I think it's only about half 11 in the morning, Cavan.
Oh, they're definitely in a different time zone, all right. That's for sure. Different atmosphere.
Oh jeez, when you have a wee lad, Matty, jeez, times you.
Yeah, no, time is irrelevant. It's just it doesn't matter. Day and night's all the same at this stage. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff, Johnny. A few questions on Monaghan. This crack of maybe kind of going ahead in games, not finishing out games. You know, lads taking risks, lads, you know, willing to take that chance. If they do want to go places, and obviously Banterbrook and McEnany really wants to push them on to that next level. We see obviously Liam Sheedy's go down as a performance coach there. To get to that next level, Johnny, they really will need to stop messing about, I suppose.
Yeah, but they're not just. Listen, I know the game wasn't a spectacle and it was bad conditions, but Monaghan is very, very close. If you look at some of the teams, if they're very hard to play against, they're very well organised. They're very well organised on their press. You know, I was very impressed with Darren Hughes. Darren Hughes got the run of the show. Like Stephen Sheridan for Armagh was completely lost, and only Armagh started to get a foothold whenever, you know, we made a change at halftime in midfield. You know, and the statement of content was there from the start because, you know, after 5 minutes, the Banty was going buck mad. Like they were pumped for this game. They were well up for it. And his back was to the wall. They were mad. They were mad to get a win there the weekend. And maybe Armagh was just coming in on a wee bit too much of a haze. So I don't, you know, even though Mayo pipped Monaghan there last week, you know, Monaghan missing awful scores. You know, so listen, Monaghan isn't far away. They have a few things to tweak in that forward line. And I felt that being at the game, I felt that they rushed some of the shots. Some of the shots was rushed rather than a wee bit more patient and working it in a bit closer. Simple stuff like that. But I think that'll come. I wouldn't say, from management point of view, if that was your only thing to work on, I think you could definitely get your percentages up. I'll put it to you that way. So, listen, I do think Monaghan's going to be sticky, and I do think they will stay in Division 1. That's for sure.
But Johnny, it's up to the club men and club managers in Monaghan to get that situation sorted.
I can only look after my own. But no, look at listen. You mentioned Sheedy there as well.
What's he doing, Johnny? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to be straight. And I don't know. I don't honestly know what he's going to bring to the table, and that's being honest with you. And that's me being realistic. I'd say he's a very good man in management and stuff like that, and good guy to have around. Absolutely, but from the football point of view of things, I think it's a stretch, lads. I don't know. I don't personally know the man, but he's a hurling background. For the likes of Monaghan, I think you could have maybe been doing with Matty Ford, maybe. But in all seriousness, they could have been nearly doing with a good forwards coach in there, or somebody who's played at the top level. Would that be Tyrone, a Derryman? That seems to be like Armagh has definitely reaped the rewards of Kieran Donaghy in there. That this is the caliber of what you're talking about, and I do think for Banty it was more of to be honest, a bit of a bluff and go with the big name rather than what exactly it's all about. I do think maybe a good forwards coach maybe will be a better fit for them at the minute, and the evidence we've seen in the last 3 games would probably suggest that.
What about Oisin McConville, Johnny? He's stuck for work at the minute.
No comment. No comment.
Jesus, I don't know. I'm not speaking for him either, but I'm not sure he'd be that stoked that he'd pass the border either. So I don't know. They might have to stick with Liam Sheedy for another while.
Well, hey, in fairness to McConville, he might be fit to fit it in because he fits in the rest, so he might fit it in. I don't know. He's a fair player to him. I tell you, he's putting in some effort.
They could do worse, and I'd agree. I think you see a lot of county teams bringing in people, and I'm not saying like Liam Sheedy. Bernard Dunn was on board with the Dublin Footballers for a while, and I think Wexford hurlers have Gordon Darcy in at the moment, and I'm not sure of the practicality of it. I think a really good coach, whether it's attack, defence, a psychologist, something like that, would be far more appropriate maybe than just having a name there. I'm not sure of the merits of it, to be honest. Look, time will tell. Probably if they don't win the Ulster, win All Ireland, everyone say, "Oh, well, look, what was the point in that?" It was silly. Maybe he's adding something brilliant to the setup. We just don't know. But I myself, along with Johnny, wouldn't be certain of the merits of it either, to be honest.
We will wait and see as the year develops, man, I suppose. And Sunday in Fitzgerald Stadium, you'd Kerry 113, Donegal 7 points. And Johnny, I know Michael Murphy was ruled out before the game, but Jesus, what were Donegal at yesterday?
Jesus is right. It was very hard watching. Just again, they seem okay till they get up to a certain area of the field, and then you just don't know what's going to happen. At one stage yesterday, you had 3 defenders up in the full forward line. Then the ball's looping back out again. Murphy is the man and has been the man there. And without him there, his leadership, they're very mediocre. And that's, even like a McBrearty in that, he's not the same man when Murphy's not on the field. We haven't seen McBrearty getting into top gear, what he's capable of yet.
Will we see that though, Johnny? Yeah, is what I'm...
Well, they're running out of time, John, that's for sure. I don't know what the situation is with Michael, but they definitely need him back. And then when you have him back, is he going to stay fully fit? Ulster football is tight. Ulster Championship is unreal. Like, if they're not coming in there on a high, they're definitely not going to get things any easy in there. So they do have a wee bit of time to sort of get it right. What are we talking? 6 or 7 weeks? It's not good, John. They're very lackluster. I don't think the tactics suit them. I think concentration as well. There's so much going on that's wrong. Like, they have a brilliant goalkeeper, and you've seen what happened there yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And Bonner doesn't look like the man. He really doesn't. The tactics definitely isn't suiting them. That's for sure. Even if they get into a decent lead, you would never put your hand in your heart and say, "Oh, they're definitely going to get over the line here," because they'd scare the life out of you. Kerry was poor enough, I thought. They were okay. A couple of defenders played real well. Shawnee O'Shea had an unbelievable game. But I don't know. It was very workmanlike, and just about got over the line too, John.
And what about yourself, Manny? Kind of taking on from Johnny's points there, and obviously, they will have our man Ulster. It's not going to get any easier in Ulster, and obviously they've a tight enough league campaign to finish too, Manny. So, as Johnny said, time probably is running out for Declan Bonner and the gents.
Yeah, it's tough on them. They seem to have just stagnated over the last couple of years. Probably since they're probably losing to Cavan in the Ulster final, I would think that things haven't went particularly well for them. As I said, they have stagnated a bit. We're talking about Conor McManus there with Monaghan. Like, I can't remember one individual player who's been more influential to a team probably ever that I can think of that Michael Murphy is to Donegal. He's just, and McManus is that person with Monaghan, but I think Michael Murphy actually is far more so to Donegal and has been literally as long as he's playing, but he's a huge amount of miles on the clock at this stage. I think it's a hamstring injury we're talking about, and I think he had that last year. I think maybe when they played Derry, and I think he was gone pretty quick in that match as well, where maybe they didn't have to risk him, and as it turned out they did, because I think they only got out by a point or two. But if Johnny said there's no hiding place in Ulster Championship matches. If he's coming in, having not played in a few weeks, and if the Donegal trend of what's going on at the moment of losing games and stuff like that and not playing particularly well and kind of being low on confidence, and if they lose again at the weekend, they're home to Tyrone, I think, is at the weekend, and it's not getting any easier. If they lose that, they're kind of maybe staring down the barrel of relegation as well. So it's tough times from there looks to be a load of really good footballers there. That's the kind of the baffling thing. They look to have brought in a lot of good young guys who are good footballers. Langan, and I know Steve McMenamin was there a few years, and Patter Morgan. They're lots of really good players. But Michael Murphy makes the whole thing tick. He's the whole heartbeat of the team, and I think they're two totally different teams. There's the Donegal with, and there's Donegal without Michael Murphy, and I think there's no comparison. There's a huge gap in the two of those teams, but I'd say I said they lose at the weekend to Tyrone, and they're looking down, I think, rather than looking up, and that's not ideal preparation with a really short run into the championship this year.
And obviously, Manny, from the Kerry point of view, it's a good win. Jack O'Connor's men are going to keep marching on. We only seen David Clifford for the last couple of minutes, so that was obviously good intentions. Rest them up, they still get the win. They can do it without Mr. Clifford against a fairly decent Donegal team. Sean O'Shea shot the lights out, Manny. So the Kingdom, things are looking good.
Yeah, they're looking decent enough, to be fair. They've brought in Paddy Tally, I believe, and you can definitely see a bit of more intensity in their tackling and stuff like that, and that's I think that's Paddy's trademark. But they can still play the free flowing football, and particularly in this time of the year and heavy pitches and stuff like that. But I think Sean O'Shea was midfield, I think, for the first game, maybe the first two games. He's obviously not a midfielder. He's a hell of a centre forward. He's a scoring threat. He's a distributor. He's the ideal number 11. He's kind of nearly a throwback to the days of Pádraig Joyce and McGuigan and players like that who are trying to make play rather than dropping deep and picking up balls in their own half. And obviously he's brilliant free taker as well. A sideline at the weekend in those conditions, win Whittam against him was an unbelievable kick. So I don't think you'll see him with any other number than 11 during the year. But it's been a bit of a trend during the league. The teams that play with because the conditions have been so poor, to play with a strong wind and get a lead. The opposition are finding it very hard to peg back. You have a 7-8 point lead like that you only probably need to score 2-3 points in the second half. Like I think they only scored one in the second half against Dublin, but I was there. Sure, Jack O'Connor will be happy enough the way Kerry are taking along at the moment, and if they get everyone fit, everyone knows they're clearly right up there with the very best of them, and a luxury of being able to leave David Clifford on the bench for 45-50 minutes. But he came on, he got a really, really lucky goal, and I think you take out that, and there's actually not a whole lot in the game. As poorly as Donegal have played, there's actually not a lot in it. So it's very hard to judge, and it's like I'm sure when we go to have a look at the weekend fixtures of picking winners, it's very hard to judge on form this time of the year, particularly in the conditions we're playing it, because hopefully come championship they won't be playing on pitches like that in that kind of weather.
Spot on, Matty, spot on. The next game in O'Neill's Healy Park, Tyrone 2-7, Kildare 12 points. So, Matty, an entertaining game here, and obviously both teams had obviously Tyrone did win, but Kildare had serious chances to win it. Tyrone snuck it at the death, but Tyrone just by the scruff of the neck, Matty.
Yeah, look, like the Dublin game, we were kind of discussing this the other night of who was going to win. And we said a lot depended on who Tyrone had playing, and obviously the 4 lads were suspended, so it had to be advantage Kildare. But if there ever was a team with their back to the wall to come out at home and grind out a victory, was Tyrone, and that's what they done ultimately. I think, I'd say, Kildare are kicking themselves going back down the road on the bus, wondering how they actually lost this. They had loads of chances, and it's actually funny. Johnny brought up the point because this was exactly the game that I had in mind about. The crossbar I think was hit 3 times and a post 4 with goal chances. And just saying, in these conditions, this time of the year, probably any time of the year, but this time of the year, the ball goes low along the ground. As I've been saying to fellas, kids and that training for years, balls along the ground generally don't hit the crossbar, so they can't come back out. So Daniel Flynn was the really obvious. It wins the game from at the very end. He blasted over the bar. That ball goes on the ground. I'm sure Derek Hanovan probably got a clip around the ear when he went home as well. He had one to come off the crossbar. I think it was Darren McCurry had one tipped onto the crossbar. Those shots on the ground can't be saved. And it was actually an excellent game considering the conditions. The 2 of them really went for it, and the levels of conditioning of both teams for this time of the year, particularly Tyrone, particularly down to the number of the players that they're missing, was unbelievable. It was a really, really entertaining game, and Daniel Flynn lit it up early on. But I'd say, along with the rest of the Kildare team kicking themselves going down the road, that he didn't win it right at that. And I think they will be in full value for getting the 2 points. And they're under pressure now. They're really under pressure with Dublin coming. But look, I think they've done a lot well in their first 3 games. I don't think all is lost for Kildare. But they need to get a win on the board. They need a bit of confidence. But I've said I'm sure they're kicking themselves after that. But Tyrone will be happy enough where they're at. I'm sure they're not back training very long. A huge number of players to come back in. A lot of new guys have been introduced over the close season, so I'd say they'll be happy enough with where they're at.
What about Darren McCurry's celebration after he got the goal, touching the big leg?
Yeah, look, never mind the celebration. Some finish, in fairness, absolutely buried it. And, I'm talking about hitting the crossbar. That one probably only scraped in under it, but you'll see actually really poor shots going in down low. Like David Clifford one is the perfect example. Bounces on a wet, shitty surface and slips in under Sean Patton. So even bad ones will go in along the ground. They're not going in after that. There was 4, I think, in that game alone, and it was actually something I wanted to bring up, and Johnny got in before me. But it's a really, really good point, because there was a shot in the Dublin game. I think it was Larkindale took at head high at Robbie Henley, and he tapped it. He palmed it over the bar. It was a brilliant save. But again, that ball is along the ground. There's no saving it, and it is strange, particularly in Division 1. You see that stuff maybe in Division 4. And as Johnny said, it's really strange if someone is not grabbing these lads. You're not going to get many of those chances in goal chances in games. Put the goddamn thing on the ground, and more often than not, even some of the poor ones will go in.
Spot on, Manny. What about yourself, Johnny? Tyrone will be happy, but Kildare did have the game at various stages of the game too, Johnny.
Yeah, I think Matty summed it up there excellently. Exactly that. Daniel Flynn had the game in his mercy there at the end. Ball along the ground, game over. But I tell you, for all the men Tyrone was missing, they did dig it out. They dug very deep. And funny, when I thought the game was in the melting pot, I was very impressed with Milo. Milo grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. And you could see his leadership, the chest out. He made a savage run up the field, really opened the thing out. The goal came from it. So they still have that, even though they're missing them few players. And they're trying. There's a lot of lads still been trying out there. But the likes of Myler and these guys, that's why they won in All Ireland. And that just goes to show you. And one thing about Tyrone Tyrone are not afraid of anybody. They do not care who they are. They've no respect for anybody else. And they get on with it. They'll find a way. You know, yes, Kildare definitely should have won the game. I felt they were definitely good value for the win. It wasn't now. Let's be honest, lads. There was no spectacle either, and the conditions was absolutely atrocious. There was a good bit of football played at times, but for large parts, it was mediocre. But I did like Kildare's setup, and you know, they're very big and physical and very, very fit. And I do think, I don't know, I think Kildare's going to smell blood this weekend. And I think they're going to love the fact they're going to draw against Kerry there in the first round of the league. I think they'll take a lot from that. They'll see they had a chance of beating the All-Ireland champions, even though, you know, they weren't near full strength. But it's a hard place to go from Kildare up Doma, especially on a dirty, wet day on a heavy pitch. You know, so I think they're going to smell blood this weekend, and I think they're really going to go for Dublin's throat. And I can't wait to see it.
Definitely, Johnny, definitely a game we're looking forward to this weekend. And in Division 2 on Sunday, you had Derry 113, Cork 7 points in Owen Begg. So, Johnny, the Cork footballers are in serious bother.
Yeah, they are. But what about Derry?
Yeah.
That's, you know, I think in scoring difference and everything else, Derry probably sits at the top of the whole lot. At the moment, Jesus, they were ferocious. McGuigan had an outrageous game. You know, and they just seem to be getting better, lads. You know, they're ticking away very nicely. Yes, they have a couple of tougher games coming up. But they're very well organised. Listen, it's back to, again, what Matty said there about the shot. They had a shot that went straight at the keeper as well, and Benny Hearn ended up sticking in a volley at it and put it into the net. You know, it's happening in all the games. Maybe, I think what's happening, you have a lot of teams doing tactical stuff. You have a lot of teams working on the high press, and they're working on kick-out strategies, and they're not just working on the skills. They're not doing the old end of training stuff, going for goals, and which as forwards used to love for a bit of crack. And that's the only way you're going to do it. You have to keep practicing it. You have to keep at it and doing wee drills and stuff for shooting for goals. But look, maybe that'll come. Who knows? But I don't think there's any point in talking about anything else in that division at the minute. Only Derry, they've been top notch. And I tell you what, they're going to be well pumped for Ulster this year too. In a number of weeks, they're coming in riding very hot.
Absolutely, Johnny. Absolutely. Next game in Park Talton, you'd meet 2-6 down 2-6. So, Matty, all square between two teams that are seriously struggling at the minute. But again, not a bad game of ball by all accounts.
Yeah, apparently so. You know, again, the conditions kind of dictated what sort of a game was going to be. You know, 4 goals scored, which is in itself, which is excellent this time of the year. But you know, it was real kind of a basement battle. You know, it was a case of neither of them wanted to lose it rather than one of them wanted to go win it. And you know, it was a point really any use to either of them. I'm not so sure. You know, one of them needed a win out of it badly. Probably more so Meath, the fact that they were at home. You know, it's put them under huge pressure. You know, they're second from bottom now, albeit on scoring difference, with a point out of a possible 6, and there's only Offaly below them, and I think they meet this weekend, so that's a huge game. You know, Offaly lose that, they're down. I think if Meath lose it, you know, they're probably looking at the same thing. And again, a draw here is no use to anyone. But you know, Meath and Down are really struggling, and you know, by my reckon, I think Derry probably need 4 more points to make it out of the division, and I think one of their games is going to be again Down. So Derry are really going to fancy themselves, but Meath and Down are really struggling, and it's hard to see where wins are going to come from. I think, like I said, if Meath don't get a win at home to Offaly this weekend, I think that's them probably doomed out of Division 2. But I do expect them to get over the line, and I think maybe Johnny might have other ideas on that. But it's going to be a real 4-pointer at the weekend in Navan again.
Absolutely. And in Atak.ie Park, you had Roscommon 9 points, Clare 9 points. So another draw, Johnny. And in fairness, we were talking about this game. You really couldn't have called it either way, but there we go, 9-9.
Yeah, the two of them have been playing really well. I know it wasn't a big score, 9 apiece, but that they have been, the two of them have been going well. And look at, will either team be that annoyed with a draw? Probably Roscommon maybe a bit annoyed, but Clare isn't bad and they're sticky and they're going well this year. They can mix it with anybody. So it was one of them games that I probably fancied a draw in it myself. I was a bit disappointed in the scoring, but there's different videos and that floating around of seeing highlights. The conditions was woeful to say the least. So I don't think either team would be that annoyed, John, with a point. Clare would be happy to get a point out of it. I'd imagine Roscommon, I felt, probably kicking themselves.
You really wonder how some of these games would head, Johnny.
Shouldn't. Yeah.
I suppose it's the time of the year. There's going to be a lot of football played over the next number of weeks. I think there's only one more break weekend in the league, so I'm sure they're probably trying to get as many of them played. Like, I think some teams actually could have to play 5 on the trot now, I think, before the league's over.
Which is mad too, Matty.
Yeah, like the 2 week breaks are fine, but this time of year you have to allow for matches being off, which we had a load of this weekend, and maybe even possibly another weekend where there's a few off, and then it's getting really messy so close to the championship. But probably a case of someone having to go through. But I think it was the wind probably more so yesterday in Atak.ie Park, as opposed to the pitch actually looked in reasonably good condition. But you can go up to Atak.ie Park in the middle of the summer and that gale of wind will be blowing into the town end or into the graveyard end. So look, I think probably Clare will be the happiest coming out of it. Clare are unbeaten. Clare have a win and 2 draws in a really tough division, and they're ticking along nicely enough as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting. Obviously, you can bring up the points at that point there. With obviously the games coming ticking fast, and with Atak.ie pulling out of the Trench Cup and Gushing pulled them out. Player welfare, I suppose, Johnny, in recent weeks, and as Matty said, like, it is going to be coming ticking fast. So, is there debate there for that, or will the players just love to be playing that many games?
It's a tough one to call, because you would have seen. As we've seen before, the Sigerson used to be played over a weekend, semi-final and final. So it's hard to know whether it's the right call. Maybe it's the right call if you have a few injuries, but or you maybe look at. I don't personally know what was going on in house there. For example, could be a few COVID cases or whatever. I'm not sure, but I do agree with Matty that when they're ramming all these games in, that the championship's only around the corner. I think if you call off too many games, you're caught down the line. You're stuck for time. And I do think in the fixture end of things, there's something that they're going to need to look at, and a wee bit of a pushback there. Just because, as Matty alluded to there, the conditions that game shouldn't have been played. That Roscommon and Clare game should have been called off. The wind was just, nuts. And these things are going to happen this time of year. So, definitely that game with Clare definitely should have been called off. So, it's. I think they need to look at a pushback area and have an open window there to put back in games, John, that needs to be played.
Or what if we had this dome in Connacht, Johnny? Would it just make too much sense, wouldn't it?
Well, sure, many games can you play in the dome? You know what I mean? Like, you could play one this Saturday and one this Sunday, but I don't think that's the answer. Not at the moment. Not unless we start building domes all around the country. It's. Look, at a lot of the top or sort of places can get away with top field sand-based pitches will get away with serious weather, but when you have serious wind like that there, other than a dome, you have to call it off, and that's long and short of it.
And they weren't called off, Johnny, and that's the GA for you. Moving on to Division 3, Round 3, Cargo Park, Antrim 210, Wicklow 1-7. So Matty, Kevin McGurty will be the happiest man in Belfast this week.
Yeah, look, he was fairly confident. To be fair, last week that Antrim would get back on track here. Losing at home heavily enough to Limerick. And Corrigan Park's a tough place to go to. Antrim is a tough place to go to anytime. But they would have been really reeling from that. From that, I mean that to play football. They would have been reeling from that. It's Belfast, a great place for a night out. I'm sure Johnny will tell you. But no, they wouldn't have been happy with that losing at home. Most teams pride themselves on their home form in the league, and you have to win your home games to try and push for promotion. And I don't think it was kind of really ever in doubt. They're really sticky. They're really hard beating at home, and they've put themselves right back in the promotion hunt now with that win as well. And they're a tough proposition for anyone.
Yes, they are. We have them in the Ulster Championship, so we're going to have to wait and see how we get on with that. In the UL North Campus, you had Louth 114, Limerick 112, and Mickey's Louth showed a lot of heart to win this one, Johnny.
They absolutely did, and it's something we flagged a few weeks ago with the situation with the goalkeeper. I think they look like they've an old midfielder in goals, and I tell you what, he was some value. He actually came out near the end of the game and broke a great ball in midfield and set up a score near the end. And this is it. Louth weren't playing. Louth haven't been playing too bad. But they had an issue with the goalkeeper. They seems to have that sorted because they were under serious pressure. And they were full value for the win. So Louth's hard to play against, boys, and Mickey is a shrewd operator. The big scorer, McElroy, is it? What do you call him?
Sam Mulroy, 180.
Sam Mulroy, McElroy. Sorry, yeah, McElroy or Sam Mulroy. Yeah, I just call him McElroy. But I tell you what, he's been very, very impressive. And serious bit of scoring that man's racking up. So, in that division, a man of that caliber, when you have a man fit to do that, it gives you a chance in a lot of games. So Mickey will be over the moon to get a couple of points on the board.
Wouldn't it be great if RTE showed a few of these games on the League Sunday, Johnny?
Well, they're too busy listening to Pat Spillane talking complete nonsense, but yeah, he's definitely better at the football, that's for sure.
But joking aside, like, it is madness, like, just on that, like, the lack of coverage. Like Sam Mulroy, 118, he scored a whip of a point yesterday, the day before, whenever Louth were playing. Like, these lads need more coverage, Johnny.
I think there's definitely there seems to be an opening there for a window of something, and I'm not just exactly sure what it is. Whether it's too much football for RTE to deal with, because too much editing they need to do to fit it all in to the Sunday, which it could be a valid argument, But do we need to have something maybe on a Monday or Tuesday evening at a suitable time? For these, because a lot of the football is not bad, and especially
high scoring games.
High scoring, exactly, and entertaining games compared to some of the games there with that we've been watching the last few years with everybody behind the ball, and you couldn't look at them. These games are entertaining, and to be brutally honest, for kids coming up and not there, like. They're not getting to see enough of this sort of stuff, especially in this day and age. I think it's a bit farcical at this day and age. So I think there definitely could be a window there, but I'm just not sure what would be the option or who would actually throw the money at it, John. To be honest.
Yeah. What would be your take on that, Matty? Or
100%, it should be like I've been saying this for years that we see a game or a couple of games on TG Cahir, probably over between Saturday and Sunday, and then you'll see exactly the same ones again Sunday evening. It's the same, come championship time, the games are live on RT or whatever, or on Sky. You'll see exactly the same ones repeated, and they'll give you 30 seconds of a Louth in Westmeath or Wexford and Carlow, whoever it is, and it's very hard to promote the games in those kind of counties. At the moment, there's probably a really good quality stream for most of these matches that I'm sure RT can pull a few minutes highlights out. Like, I think I didn't actually see it last night. I think it was something like 30 or 35 minutes analysis of the Dublin Mayo match. of course people want to look at it and listen to it, but like people 100% prefer to tune in to see action. They don't want the games to be analysed to death. It's the second and third round of the National League. Let us see a bit of action. You'd love to see a game like that. That draw with Clare and Roscommon. It mightn't be the most thrilling, but it's still Division 2 football. You want to be looking at that, or go down through any divisions, go down to Division 3 and 4. Why can't we see what Sam Mulray scored? I think 118 in 3 league games. Let us get a look at him, because probably the only time we're going to see him is for a 30-second highlight reel kicking 2 points from play in the championship later on the year. And I for one, I no problem looking at Division 3 and 4 football. It's every bit as good and competitive. And these lads are doing every bit as much training as the lads in 1 and 2, but we're just getting kind of overkill on Division 1 and 2 games, and seeing nothing what's happening anywhere else in the country. And I said it's just more of a promotional thing than anything else, that kids are looking up to these lads, but you actually see them on telly. They're like the guys in the Premiership in England. I know they do with soccer, and it's probably not the right place to be doing it, but there's a championship match of the day type program for the championship and soccer in England on a Sunday or a Monday as well. If that's the way it needs to be just for Division 3 and 4, why not do something like that? But we need to do something to promote it a little bit more. We have this Tailteann Cup thing now, but get these games out to people. I want to look at Division 3 and 4 as much as 1 and 2, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I look at any football, and you just, all you're doing is you're hearing names or you're seeing reports on papers of guys. You can't actually see them. So it'd be nice to be able to get a look at it. And I'm sure it can't, cost wise, it can't be that much of a problem to let us see a bit of this, and stop the length of a time we're analysing 1 or 2 games on League Sunday or the Sunday game later on the year.
Well, if it's anything, lads, Joanne Cantwell didn't know what division Limerick were in last night, so I think that's speaking volumes, lads.
And
right.
just into that argument, sorry, John.
Yes.
And another thing, if they're not going to show the rights of these games, at least let them stream the games, is right. That's what should be done, and bring the money. It would help bring the money into the county. Like for example, there's the Armagh game was on TV, but the place was rammed in there the other night. So in case they put up the argument, people will stay at home and stream, but they won't go to the game. I don't buy that. Because especially in them conditions and stuff like that, like people with young families at home, they pay at home maybe a €5 or €10 to watch the game. Good value for the money, and it would help bring money in. This in a lot of these counties, weaker counties, much badly needed funds. Because they're not going to show the bloody game anyway, so you might as well let them stream it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Oh, look, lads, there we go. It's definitely a conversation for another day. But moving on to Division 4, you had Carlow 2-12, Waterford 2-8, and case in point, lads, high-scoring game, nowhere to be seen on League Sunday last night. So, Johnny, Carlow finally get the first win of the year. Yeah,
they do, and Carlow's capable of doing that. They're very capable, when they're on song, they're really on song. I don't know, maybe you thought they would get the win. I don't know. What did you think last week on that game? Sorry, John. Who called it?
I went for Carlow, definitely. You know me.
John actually didn't even know that Carlow were still in the league, to tell you that last year. I, however, as my bet of the week, picked Carlow at 6-4 home to Waterford, because
you did,
I did. So John is going to agree with me here, and it's pity Kevin wasn't on as well. But look again,
Johnny, were you not watching our podcast last week? By the way, what's the story there, or were you busy?
He was out buying his new top shirt.
Yeah, no, I just landed the fishing rod out there, and you just took the bait straight away. That's what happened.
But in all seriousness, we're kind of guessing here of what actually happened in the match. You're looking at match reports and who scored what, and you're trying to piece it together when actually we know nothing about it. We can't actually analyse the game or say X, Y, or Z. You're literally looking at probably a 12 or 15 line report on the back of a Sunday newspaper to see what actually happened. And Carlow, Waterfords and Wexfords and these kind of teams are no less deserving of coverage and screen time than anyone in Division 1 or 2. But look at it, that's an argument for another day. But look at, they're back on the board now. Carlow can't be that bad that they're not really good value to beat Waterford at home. I know Waterford had won their first couple of games, but still they're back in the game. But it's not going to get any easier for Carlow either, no more than a few of the teams down the bottom in Division 4.
Lovely. Was waiting for this one. At the Connacht.ie Centre of Excellence, London 2-5, Leitrim 9 points. Johnny, what did you make of that game?
Well, London again, boys. I there's no way you would have called that one anyway. That's for sure. Even though London have been doing well, you still would after last week you would have fancied Leitrim. But hey, London scoring goals, boys. That's the difference, and they're getting them at the right time. So fair play to them. That's another win on the road. They will be absolutely over the moon, and they'll have their tails up and Ricelip this weekend again. So, we did, like, I felt that it would take Andy a wee bit of time down there and to gel a few things together. And yes, they got points on the board, and look at it, it's still a work in progress, I think. And London's a big, strong unit. They're fit to put themselves about, and they're coming in good form. But I would have fancied Leitrim myself now, to be honest. But look at fair play. Listen, as the boy says there, it's hard to see much of these games. I've seen a wee bit of that one, not too much. Only seen a bit of highlights. But a lot of these games, you're not getting to see enough of them, and it's hard to call. From one week to the next. I don't know. I still think it's going to take Leitrim a wee while. I definitely do. Rome wasn't built in a day, and they don't have a massive pick down there. I definitely feel, for the likes of Andy there, he's going to like to see championship football. He's going to like to see a load of stuff there to see what's going on. And then he's definitely going to like to see club championship. So, but I do think he will improve them, but it'll just take a bit of time.
Definitely. And Matty, huge credit to the London lads, in fairness, getting the house in order after 2 years, first run of games in the last 2 years, Matty. So an impressive win again, but Andy Moran be disappointed with that.
Yeah, like Johnny, we all called a home win in this one on last Monday evening. Of course we did. In fairness, Leitrim had looked decent during the Connacht League. Then, they had a good performance the first day against Cavan, albeit losing at home. But then, to go down and beat Tipperary comfortably down in Thurles. So it looked like, they were kind of just getting on the road. Had they got a win there, they were right back into the promotion hunt. But, that's probably nearly finished them for this year already, as regards going back up to Division 3. But, absolutely, London are the story here and not Leitrim. Fair play to them. They have 2 wins on the road. And obviously they're winning at home, and looking at it, it's top again, bottom in Division 4 this weekend with Wexford going over to Ricelip. And you'd be a good man to bet against London, to be fair. Wexford have lost to London over the last couple of years. They've won 3 games really narrowly. They've only a points difference of +4, which is a really, really good sign of a team. So they won both games by a point, and obviously 2 at the weekend. So it's a really good sign of a team to be able to win tight games like that. And like I said, regarding Wexford and Tipperary, Wexford have a habit of losing tight games like that over the last few years. And you would be a really brave man to bet against London at the weekend. And I tell you, if they win at the weekend, they're looking in fairly good position for a real push of promotion. I know you have Cavan there, I know you have Sligo there, but no one will fancy going to Ricelip to take London on. I'm not sure where the Cavan London game is, John. But you would expect Cavan to beat them, but have likes of a Sligo or a Tipperary have to go over to London. They won't be licking their lips and coming expecting to walk out with 2 points.
Mm-hmm. Wait and see, Matty. I'm looking forward to it. No, it's in London, so hopefully you get over to it now. We're all looking forward to it. Hope to get a win anyway, but at the minute it's looking very tight because the London lads are flying. Look ahead to this weekend, lads. Just a quick preview of them, and I suppose a couple of words on them. If you're to look ahead to this weekend, Matty, in a couple of words, in Division 1, you've Donegal against Tyrone in Ballybuffet. The game will be on RT2, 7:30 on Saturday night. So, Matty, Donegal or Tyrone?
Jesus, look at our record from calling games last weekend. Very hard to say with any confidence that Donegal will win it. Tyrone are probably going to be back up to, well, not say full strength, but they'll be back up at least to 4 guys, I think, who were suspended. I think it was a game, if that's right.
Yeah.
They're going to be stronger again this weekend. You would expect Donegal to have some kind of reaction to last weekend. Not only were they beaten, but they were quite poor. And, look, as Johnny said earlier on, you don't know what's going on in any particular camp, but it kind of looked like they had nearly given up on that game early enough and put all their eggs in the Tyrone basket this weekend, because if they lose this weekend, they're staring down the barrel as well. So I think Donegal are going to put everything into this. Tyrone are actually favourites for the match, but I think just because probably their need for points is a bit greater. Donegal maybe just, but again, it's one of those matches where a draw is very much on the cards. But Donegal by a point.
Interesting. Johnny, Kildare against Dublin, Newbridge at 1:45 on TG Car, so that'll be a game to watch live on Sunday. Johnny, what do you think of that one?
Oh, a mouth-watering encounter that. I'll not be missing that one. And like we spoke about earlier, Kildare is going to be licking their chops at the sight of Dublin coming to Newbridge. That's going to be a humdinger, and Kildare is going to fire the kitchen sink at them. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Whether can spark to what you're saying about tight games there, the Matty said there a minute ago, and when it comes down to nitty gritty, that's the one question mark I'm going to have for Kildare, is that in each of the few games they've had a chance to get the full points and the full value for them as well, and they haven't taken it.
Lack of scoring forwards, Johnny, maybe.
Probably that, but they still had they were creating the chances, John, and they let Kerry off the hook. I felt that when the game was in the balance and in the melting pot, they let Tyrone off the hook there as well. So listen, Dublin's going to need something. There's no doubt about it. But will Kildare? I know they'll fire everything at them, but will they be ruthless enough when the game gets in the melting pot in the last 5 minutes? This is the question. It's another game like Matty called the first one. It could have draw written all over it as well. So, but I am looking forward to it. It's going to be a humdinger.
Definitely. And Matty, Mayo against Armagh in Dr. Hyde Park at 2 p.m. So, what are you thinking? I know we've Armagh and company here at the minute.
I think this will no, look, not at all. I think this will give us the best, our best indication of exactly where Armagh are at. They had the win over Dublin the first night and full value for it. Probably should have won by more, but we've seen Dublin's problem since. Then obviously played Tyrone team and a home to Tyrone. A Tyrone team that's probably not back training that long, and again, Armagh were full value for the victory, but they had huge confidence going in from the Dublin game to have a point from the other night. So they're in a really good position. I think, I'm sure if you asked Geezer, would have been happy with 5 points out of the first 6. He'd have took your hand off heading down to Mayo. But I just think Mayo now, actually it's not in Mayo, I think it's actually in Sligo. I think they're playing their home games in Markievicz Park as far as I know, but it is a home game. I think Castlebar I think is closed for the foreseeable future, so they did play. I think they played Donegal there anyway. But it is a home game for Mayo. I think this will tell us exactly where Armagh are at. Yeah. They're very tempting at the price, but I think I go for Mayo. But again, only just, and like none of these 4 Division 1 games would be a surprise if any of them ended in a draw. And certainly it's the case here again. But if I had to pick one, I would go Mayo just with the virtue of home advantage, slightly. But as Johnny said earlier on, that result last weekend is probably maybe the kick in the backside that Armagh wanted, and Armagh are well capable of going down here and winning. But I'm going to hesitantly go for Mayo, and again, only just.
Perfect. And next game, you've Monaghan against Kerry in Inniskeen at 2 p.m. Johnny, a game I thought was going to be in Clonus. That's annoying me because I would have loved to go for it.
Well, I can't understand this one because it definitely would have suited Monaghan to go to Clonus. And
crowd as well, Johnny. Crowd.
Yeah, but no one. I think you get a big crowd at this, lads. I think maybe for whatever reason, maybe there's work being done in Clonus. I'm not sure, but
I don't think so.
Inniskeen is a fantastic place. It's unbelievable setup up there. But the pitch is huge. It's a monster, and I know Clonus is a monster, but it's a different field in Inniskeen. You'd be of the impression that the calibre of the Kerry forwards, it would suit them down to the ground in it. I would feel anyway. Whereas I will be making them do more of a track on up a bit, another bit, and into Clonus. But listen, it's going to be an interesting encounter. Like I said, I've been really super impressed with Monaghan setup. If if you even look, I forgot to mention from the Armagh game, if you look at how long it took Hughes to get the kick out of the way, he even got blew up, he was warned loads of times. That's how much pressure they were putting on there, and they're very, very good at it. And that's what I feel, that's what they need to do to Kerry. They need to ask the serious questions out of the Kerry backline. Try and make them go long as much as possible. We spoke about Darren Hughes. He had a great game the weekend. He was probably Mullen's best player. But then again, O'Connor and Barry isn't bad in there in the middle, or Spillane has to go in there as well. Kerry, from they got a couple of lads back, are very strong around the middle. I agree with Matty earlier. Sean O'Shea is not a midfielder. He was a stopgap there in the first game. It didn't work. He is the best centre half probably in Ireland at the minute. So it's Clifford did have a lot of games under his belt there and playing with the college and stuff. So I'd fancy him to start this weekend. He didn't look too bad. He's probably just freshening him up a wee bit. And listen, Kerry will be coming up to try and get the win. They'll flex their muscles a wee bit. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. Probably on balance with Kerry's scoring power. I think they might shade it, but I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be very tight. If Monaghan can sort out that scoring, maybe with home advantage, but for me, they're not scoring enough. And Kerry is. So on that way to go and the game and in the scheme, I'd say Kerry shade it.
Absolutely, it's going to be an intriguing counter, lads. Nice game for Monaghan to be involved in. And in Division 2 on Saturday, you have Offaly against Meath in Burr Namonik O'Connor Park at 2:30. So I suppose a lot of these games are probably easy enough to predict. But Matty, in one word, who would you predict for that one?
I actually thought, this game was in Navan. That kind of levels the playing field, but I still think Meath are probably just about good enough to come out. Offaly, if they don't win here, they're probably looking at being relegated. But I would fancy Meath after getting a point the weekend. But 8-15 is not very tempting on Meath away at the moment, the way they're playing.
So what are we thinking?
I do think Meath will come out with, but only just about. I think Offaly been on the wrong end of a couple of bad beatings over the last few weeks, and confidence will probably be at a bit of a low. And Meath, why they're not pulling up any trees either. I think to getting the point even at the weekend will put them somewhat in the right direction, but it's a real 4-pointer. I think the loser at least gets relegated. So I think the fact that Meath have been operating at a higher, they're meeting from one coming from one direction, one coming from the other in league terms. I think the fact that Meath have been operating at a bit higher level over the last couple of years, I think they'll just about get out of it.
Perfect. Cork against Galway, Park-y-Quaid, 5 p.m. Johnny Murray, what are you thinking?
Well, look at there's not much between the two of them there at the minute. I'd say, sorry, Cork against Galway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was thinking Clare. Sorry, I got mixed up there. No, listen, Cork's very much in transition. A lot of work has to go on there. They're on the slide. Too bad we haven't Daniel on tonight to give him a bit of stick, but
he's in hiding, Johnny.
I wouldn't blame him. But in fairness to Matty, at least he showed his face.
If I didn't, Johnny, I'd never show it anywhere. I'd never be anywhere at the moment the way things are going.
No, but look at John. In all fairness, I think they only registered 7 points there the weekend from Cork.
Not bad.
Jesus, and listen, as we spoke about in that game, there was only one team to talk about, was Derry. They're flying, but Jesus, lads, Cork is on the slide, and like I said, they've used. I would hazard a guess and say at the pre-season competition to now, they've probably seen maybe 70 or 80 different players. They used an awful amount of men in the pre-season competition. So they're in transition. They have a lot of men back. I'd feel it should be back, including the obvious. But it's not going to get any easy for them. And a bit like Matthew said there, I don't know if Cork gets another heavy defeat here. They're staring at the barrel as well. So I can't see them getting a win, to be honest. that's, I don't know. It's going to take a lot of time with Cork, and I think Cork might have to go down a level before they start seeing the reaping the rewards again. There are too many better teams in that group. You know, them teams, the Derrys, the Galways, and Clares and Roscommon. You know, no, I can't. Listen, lads, I think they're only going down, and Galway's going well, Derry's going well. It's going to be nip and tuck there to see, you know, who is actually gonna go up to Division 1, but no, definitely not. I can't see a win the weekend for them anyway. They're going to be in bother.
Next game we've down against Roscommon in Park Esler at 5 p.m. It'll be live on the BBC iPlayer, BBC Sport NI website, and GAA Go. Holy Mother of God, that's a lot of channels. Matty, what do you think for that game?
Yeah, you know, getting down, obviously, have been struggling. I'm not sure any of the Kilcoo lads will have been will be any fit state probably to play if they have filtered back into training, and I'm not sure how many will be going back in or whatever. Look, they're probably not going to be brought back in this quickly if they are. I do think there's actually two divisions. I think in Division 2 you have Derry, Roscommon, Galway and Clare on the top, and then the other four in the bottom, obviously Down, Cork, Meath and Offaly. So it's a real shootout. I think again, if Down lose this game at home, I think they're really staring down the barrel. And you know, Roscommon are a tough proposition for anyone. You know, Down are minus 13 for the 3 games so far, and one of those was a draw. So you'd have to fancy Roscommon. It's going to be tough, but like I think Down after the point of weekend will see it as a great chance to pick up points really quick. The fact that they're home, but I would still just about fancy Roscommon. I think it'll be close, but I'd fancy Roscommon to get out of it and maintain their push for promotion.
And Johnny, on Sunday you Clare against Derry in Cusack Park, Ennis at 1 p.m. So that is going to be a belter.
That's going to be a humdinger, and that exact game is going to tell us just what you were saying earlier about Armagh going down to Mayo. I think that game, is actually in Atak.ie Park, Matty. So that's what it's down for. But anyway,
down in Roscommon, is it?
No, Armagh and Mayo is down for Atak.ie Park in the Irish News today. So yeah, so I did know they were playing in they had played games in Markbridge Park, but it's down for Atak.ie Park in the paper. But just the same, this will tell us, you know, exactly where Derry's at. Clare has been going very well. They could score heavy if you let them. They're good free takers, you know. So this will ask a lot of questions of Derry having to travel down there, and we're going to know exactly what to have. It's going to be tight, but I still fancy Derry. That's being honest with you. I still do. I think they're well organised. Gallagher has them flying. They're flying fit. You know, a big thing I noticed with Derry this time around that had been missing, they're gelling together. Whatever he's done, they're gelling together. I did hear a whisper that the trained, you know, right through lockdown and stuff like that there in different pods and groups or whatever, and it seemed to work. That Derry club football, they normally slaughter other in the club championship, and it's tough going up there. I can tell you it's tough going, but you know that hasn't happened. The boys are gelling again. They're going well. There's a pep in their step. They're playing nice football. They're well organised. They have the forwards to deliver on the day. You know, would I say a strengthened depth maybe in the long run? You know, like of Benny Heron still having to put the shoulder to the wheel. Could be maybe a slight argument there for that, but we'll tend to know on down the line. You know, listen, if you're healthy, it's not a problem. And you know yourselves, lads, if the injuries start coming, you sort of see what you have. But McGuigan, for me, at the minute, is unplayable. Like he is just shooting the lights out. Very, very dangerous. You know, so listen, we're going to find out a lot about Derry. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I do tip my hat to Derry to get over the line. And if for anybody having a bet, that'll be the one for the weekend, I think.
Absolutely, that's absolutely. And moving on to Division 3 in round 4, you have Wicklow against Limerick in Aughrim at 2:30. So, Matty, what a venue!
Tough place to play, lads. Tough place to play, and it's the closest county ground to us here. It's literally 20 minutes away. It's a lot closer than Wexford Park. So I've been at a good bit at club championship matches and haven't played in a good few times. It's a tough place to go. But Wicklow, bottom of Division 3, they need to win badly, and Limerick are flying high. But they'll want to get a win after losing obviously the weekend allowed it. This one could be interesting. Anyone that's played in Aughrim knows it's a horrifically tough place to go to. But Wicklow haven't been playing well. They were poor, lost heavily in Antrim. I still think there's something in this Limerick team. I expect Limerick to kind of maintain their push for promotion, and I think Wicklow might be able to squeeze out this one. But to be fair to Wicklow, they're really tough and really hard to play against at home, and they need to win badly as well to try and. They're looking down rather than looking up at the moment. They're bottom of Division 3. They need to win badly, but I think Limerick may be just about, John, at the weekend.
See that 20 minutes. What are you travelling in there? Is that in a helicopter?
No, it's actually not. I'm right on the Wicklow border here, so I had a very, very lucky escape. Some would say maybe not that lucky, but I landed on the right side of the border. So that's literally how close we are to the county ground in Aughrim here. Yeah.
We actually opened that my first year in the cross senior panel. We actually opened that field in Aughrim, and I've played in it a couple of times. You're not wrong. It's an awful place to go.
It's an intimidating spot, to be fair. Like the crowd is very, very close to the pitch, and at times they're too close. But if you can go up to Aughrim and come out with a win and with all your limbs in one piece, you'd be doing well, so you would. But look, it is a different place than it was a few years ago. It's been modernised and done up, and there's stands and stuff in, and they've done the pitch, and it's a fine county ground. But this time of the year, no more than anywhere else, it's a tough place to go to. But I'd fancy Limerick maybe just about.
How long ago was your debut for Crossmaglen, Johnny?
A stretch. I was just turned 17, so.
Is that long ago?
I'll let you do the math on that one.
Late 70s.
I keep telling you look older than me anyway. Look at you. I have snow on the roof and you've got no roof. So.
And I'm saying nothing because I'm older than 2 years, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut as well.
Oh, welcome to parenthood, Johnny. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be getting that situation sorted soon. And no fun to you, no fun. Right, lads, before we kill each other, Laois, Antrim, MW Higher, O'Moore Park at 6 p.m. Matty Ford, what are you reckoning?
I'm going for Laois at home. They've had a good start. They've one win and one defeat, but I think there seems to be something about Laois this year. They're definitely going to be one of the favourites, I think, along with Westmeath, to come out of Division 3. And I think maybe the home comforts of O'Moore Park, even though look at Antrim will be coming down by their win. I think the home comforts of a set of O'Moore Park will mean the 2 points are staying in Laois this weekend.
Johnny Murtagh, Sunday, Longford against Fermanagh, Glennon Brothers, Pierce Park at 2 p.m. Are we looking at a draw there?
No, I would hazard a guess at the home win. Fermanagh, I can't understand what the hell has happened. Fermanagh, they've been extremely poor. Normally, Fermanagh will give you everything that you don't want. They'd fire at you, and that would be lads from any level, a team from Division 1 to Division 4. That's just what they give you, and they can put it up to anybody on their day. I tell you one thing, I would have loved to see at some stage. I would have loved to see Dublin taking on Fermanagh, maybe down in an Ulster Championship game in Brewster Park. I tell you, there'd be sparks being knocked out of them. I tell you that, but that day seems to be gone, lads, and
rightly so, Johnny. It's good to have manners on the pitch.
Well, I don't know. I don't get to see much of Cavan these days down in Division 4, but I might have to jump in the yoke with you someday and check it out. But anyway, look, I don't know. Listen, you couldn't. There's no way you could possibly go with a Fermanagh win anyway. That's that's just starting off. Whatever bit of draw, I don't know, John. I would go with a home win. I think there's something badly wrong there in Fermanagh. They're not firing, and maybe it's new personnel and new coaching in there as well. Look, it's just not working yet. But I do know that if they do turn up, they torture you. But like Meath, as we say, they were Jekyll and Hyde, as we've been calling Meath, but Fermanagh is not even Jekyll and Hyde at the minute, So
what are they, Johnny?
They're brutal. That's what they are, brutal. And I don't like saying that because they're a team I would have a lot, like you can hear, I have a lot of respect for them, but they're just awful poor at the minute. Something's just not right over there, and I don't like saying it because they're a team I love the passion they bring to the game. But they're brutal at the minute, and I'd be leaning towards Longford at home.
Johnny Murtagh saying as it is.
Why not?
Matty Ford, Loud against Westmeath, RG 2 p.m. What are we thinking?
This is tricky enough. This one definitely could end in a draw. I think Westmeath's game obviously wasn't played, so that'll be 3 weeks now without a game, and Loud coming in off the back of a victory and back with their home comforts. Westmeath should have enough to win this game, and I think they probably will just about get out of it. But there's a stickiness now to Loud, that hasn't been there over the last few years, and they're far from being a team that throws the towel in. But I just think that Westmeath might just have a little bit more quality, and particularly up front. They're going well. They're 2 wins from 2. They have a good start to the league, and I think if they get a win at the weekend, I think Westmeath are certainly looking at promotion. But likewise, Loud win this game, and they're back up to probably either top or joint top of the league table on Saturday or on Sunday night. But I just think Westmeath and just about.
Division 4, the place to be, Tipperary against Sligo, FBD Semple Stadium at 7 p.m. Johnny, is this going to be a long, long way to Tipperary for the Sligo lads?
No, Sligo will get the win. You could again I expected an awful lot more than the first few weeks, and I can't figure that one out, lads, to be honest with you. They're another team that's been very poor. Sligo's got points on the board, and they'll be, Tony Mack will have them well organised. He'll have them ready, and they'll be looking to take a scalp there the weekend. So I would definitely be tipping my hat towards Sligo. I don't think the way Tipperary is performing at present, you could hazard a guess at anything else.
Absolutely, Johnny. And moving on to Sunday, London against Wexford in Ruislip at 1 p.m. So, Matty Ford, what are we thinking ahead of that one?
Sure, you don't want to ask Johnny about this one. I get landed with this again. Realistically, it's top against bottom, and it's top against bottom for a reason. London have won their 3 games. Wexford have lost their 2, and I wasn't overly hopeful about Wexford chances at home to Tipperary. It obviously didn't happen. It was pulled at the last minute. Like, conditions down there were, to say they were horrendous would have been an understatement. You couldn't even see the pitch from the camera at one stage. It was that bad. But Wexford actually made a huge amount of both personnel and positional switches for the team that was picked, and it's there's no probably reason why that team is going to change a whole lot for the trip to London. So that in itself kind of tells you that they're struggling a bit with form, with confidence, the whole lot. But I'm not trying to big up London here, but genuinely I think you'd be a really brave man to bet against London at the weekend. When was the last time they won 4 games in a row? It's probably never. I think Wexford are going to really think Wexford are going to find it really difficult over there. It's possibly it's another place that you go fairly regular where the conditions are always pretty poor in terms of wind. And if Wexford get into a situation where they've played against it and they're down a bit, or only kind of very narrowly ahead, like similar to the war against Sligo in round 1, I really do think they're going to struggle. And you know, as much as I hate saying it, I'd find it hard to go with Wexford at the weekend.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's where we're at, Matty. That's where we're at. But
yeah, look,
fairness,
I could, you know, I could say, oh, geez, look, I can't see Wexford losing, and I'm going to go with Wexford. But you know, if you're asking me for an honest opinion on it, I would struggle to see, you know, where the confidence is going to come for a Wexford win. I wouldn't say kickstart their season. You know, it's promotion is looking a long way off at this stage, but you know, would get the season going. But you know, London really have their tails up, and I said they're winning games, narrow or tight games that Wexford haven't been over the last few years. And you know, it's going to be a big ask for Wexford on the weekend, I think.
Any interest in talking out, Matty? Like, it's a trip to London.
No, even though it's a trip to London, no, I'm happy enough. I actually don't even know where my football boots are at this stage. My last game was in goal for a junior team last year, and I tore my hip flexor in shite. So I said, look, let's leave it at that now, thanks. So I'll follow it on Twitter.
But hey, looking on the bright side, you know, if you do get it wrong and Wexford actually get the win, you know, you don't have far across the border in the Wicklow, so you'll be okay.
Exactly. I haven't far to go. I'm literally only across the hill here, and I'm on the other side, and I can't get a phone signal either, so it'll all be fine.
There we go. Cavan against Carlow, Kingsmore Breffni Park at 2 p.m. Johnny Murtagh, behave for this one.
Oh, well, sure, I have to tip my hat to you, don't I? Or you'll cut me off. You trapped me with that already, I think. No, you know, well, is Galligan back? Is he back or is he not?
The goalie or the midfielder? Which one?
Well, you're going to need to play him in goals and midfield. Huh? He can join the high press in midfield. No,
I'm
but
back,
look
Johnny,
at
anyway. I'll play this again. I'm fit.
Yeah. No, look at you definitely fancy Cavan. There's no doubt about it. All joking aside, when the man we spoke of there, Galligan's on form, you know, he brings an awful lot to the table. He's top quality. I'm still looking forward to seeing Garrod kick points for fun.
Is he in your team, your fancy team?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, get him in. Yeah.
He's in it, yeah. He's a serious baller, and I do think there's a lot more to come from him. You know, and I do think this is an opportunity for Cavan to flex their muscles the weekend. I do think they're far too good to be down there, and this is a game they need to be winning and winning well and showing right. We mean business here. This is what it's all about. And Mickey hopefully can get them fired up to do the job. And I would expect a big win from you as the weekend, John.
Fingers crossed, Johnny. Fingers crossed. I can see it myself, please God. And in the last game of the weekend, lovely game to cover for you, Matty Ford. Waterford against Leitrim in Waterford at 2 p.m. Yeah,
sure. Look, at said, haven't seen the League Sunday over the last few weeks. We've seen plenty of both of these teams, so we know kind of exactly what we're talking about here. Look, at it is a bit of a shot in the dark, isn't it? Like Waterford, you know, haven't been pulling up any trees either, but they have a couple of wins on the board. I think it's going to be really tricky for Leitrim going down here. You know, it's a long spin down. Whether Waterford take them to whether it's Dungarvan or maybe I remember playing a league match in Lemmy Bryan a long number of years ago, and it's not exactly the most salubrious surroundings, but you know, Waterford another place, Dungarvan another place where conditions are always awful. I know they're odds on or they're odds against here. Waterford are at home, but I fancy him. I actually think Waterford could sneak a win here. Leitrim, you know, as I said, they haven't been pulling up any trees, and you know that London result will really hurt them. But we've seen strange results over the first 2 or 3 rounds of the league where teams haven't getting beaten, and you think confidence low will rebound and come back with a win the next day, and obviously vice versa. Teams that look to be on a bit of a high going away and losing the following week. Limerick there's a good example last week. So look, at it, it's really hard. It's really hard to call some of these games. It's actually really hard to call a lot of them because, with the exception of the Cavan game in Division 3, which is a guaranteed home banker by by probably a good few points. The rest of them, you know, it's really, you know, throwing a dart at it. But I'm just going to tip Waterford with home advantage. You know, there's going to be nothing in a lot of these games in Division 4.
And Matty, did you miss them kind of trips away to Waterford and Limerick and miss them big days?
No, I don't, to be honest. To be fair, we did go to Limerick on a few occasions when it was Division 2, Division 1. But no, look at this. I was just thinking, like the weekend, I was watching a couple of games on telly. I was just thinking, like, thanks, bit of jeez, I'm not playing anymore. You know, trying to get yourself motivated to go out to play in conditions like that, and you know, ground is bad. There's no one at the games. You know, I remember playing a league match in Tipperary, and I'm not joking. I'd say it was probably, if there was 2 dozen at the game, I'd say that was the maximum amount it was, and that's actually not a joke back in the day. So, you know, I said I really feel for a lot of the teams playing in Division 4. It's a really tough gig at the moment, and you know, I said the lack of coverage and the lack of support and stuff they're getting is not enticing young fellas to go and play football for these teams. And you know, I've great respect for anyone that's doing it. We know what it's like and what it takes ourselves. Like we were probably at the level that Wexford are at now at one stage as well, and it's, you know, it's no fun.
There we go, Matty. There we go. And to wrap up, lads, Johnny Marta, who will be your player to watch this weekend and the bet of the weekend?
Well, the player to watch this weekend for me is going to be Shane McGuigan from Derry. He's coming in rolling high. I like that. You know, we could easily go with, you know, the top players in Division 1, the Rain O'Neills and O'Shea's and these guys, you know, Cliffords. But I think that's the obvious choice. I'm really liking seeing a young lad that's coming up through the ranks, and he's going to be something, you know, that I'm intrigued to see again and kicking on. And yeah, like I said, that my bet is going to be Derry down there. Derry for the win for me. It's look, it's going to be tight, but I do think they can answer a few critics wrong. That this maybe having that question mark about them going on the road and seeing what they can really produce again, Clare. So yeah, that them two is for me, John, is what I'm looking forward to seeing the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Last word with Matty Ford. What are you reckoning?
That's uncanny. Me and Johnny obviously are fairly highly intelligent people, because same game.
Oh, yes, sir. That's why you have us on board.
Shane McGuigan. Thanks, John. Shane McGuigan actually was the one as well. An absolute wand of a left foot, and he's been ripping it up in the league so far this year. So, you know, wherever Clare bring him to, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him down to Milltown, Malbay. You get Dennis in about 16 hours further past that as well. We were down there ourselves a few years back. Like, it's, you know, some of these Derry lads won't get back to work till probably Wednesday next week. But if it's not in Ennis and to bring him down there, let me tell you, it's a fair trek, and that's coming from here, never mind coming from Derry. So, my bet of the weekend is actually in this game, and I'm actually going to go for a home win. Clare, I said, are unbeaten in Division 2 as well, with a 2 draws and a win, and I tell you, they're a sticky wicket at home. I said, whether it's in Ennis or it's in Milltown, they're tough to beat down there, and it'll really tell us, I think, where both teams are at, and probably more so Derry. But I think Clare's need for points is probably a little bit greater. Derry made a brilliant start, but Derry have beaten the 3 teams who are third, second and last in Division 2 at the moment. So I think like they're probably some of the weaker teams. I think this is their first real big test. You know, I think Cork at the weekend realistically wasn't a big test, while maybe it should have been. But I think this is their first big test, and maybe myself or Johnny, unless you go for a draw on it, John, myself or Johnny are probably going to be right. So if I'm wrong, I'm definitely not coming on next week. But that's, you know, Derry 2-5, Clare 5-2. I think, you know, the value seems to be with Clare, but I do think for a bit of value, I would go with Clare at the weekend.
There we go. I'll go with Daniel Flynn, player to watch against the Dubs, and I will go with bet of the weekend, London to win again, so to get their 4th victory. So we will wait and see. Lads, job done. There we go.
You forgot to mention about Clare, John. You have a lot of history down there too. You know all about Clare. You were down there at the Willie Clancy Festival, weren't you, one year?
That's news to me, Johnny.
That's not what I heard.
Off camera, I wouldn't mind knowing about that. Jesus,
it'll probably be back on in 2022, John, so you can make up for it anyway.
You may get your diary written out there and see what the story is.
That's that, lads. Any more comments? Any more smart aleck comments before we wrap up?
No, all good.
No, that's enough for tonight, I think.
Jesus, yeah. Jesus, Maddie Ford is a wee man to put to bed. And Johnny Murd has the dinner to cook for herself. She's probably giving out in the background, is she, Johnny?
Always, absolutely.
Sign of health, Johnny. So they're all very healthy.
Yeah. I make no mistake about it. I know who the boss is. That's the main thing.
Brilliant stuff. Well, lads, that's it. And happy birthday to Kev once again. I hope he's having a good night, whatever he's up to. And thanks for leaving us in the dark, Kev. But look, we'll be on to you again. Lads, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Orgaretch.com and Atak.ie. Use our promo code SHAMAC podcast to get 15% off on Orgaretch.com and get the best skins, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And if you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe on YouTube because sport's been absolutely brilliant so far. Johnny, Matty, thank you.
Cheers.
Johnny, John, all the best.